Hello and welcome to Drilling Insight. I'm Jeremy Verduzco, host and editor of National Driller magazine. I'm joined today by drilling trainer, National Driller writer, and co-host Brock Yorty. How's it going, Brock?
Doing good. How are you doing, Jeremy?
I'm doing okay. And so for this episode, we're going to go a little wildcat to honor National Driller's longtime columnist, Wayne Nash. Wayne passed away October 23rd, 2020. So he wrote his World According to Wayne column for us for more than 20 years. Actually, the start of it, as best I can tell, is lost to history. I can't find when exactly it started, but the oldest ones I could find were 20 years. So he was sharing stories, tips, tricks, sometimes obscene, but always informative. And he was, in many ways, the kind of wildcatting cowboy that regular people might think of when I say the word driller. He was really an inspiration for plenty of young drillers, and to help us celebrate Wayne's life, we're bringing in his daughter, Emily Ruiz. Thanks for joining us, Emily, and again, we offer our condolences to the family.
Thank you for having me today.
So Wayne, through his longtime column and his advice, he meant a lot to the drilling industry. Did you have a sense that he was this kind of larger than life figure in our industry?
Absolutely. Actually, that's really the way he lived his entire life, larger than life. It was almost it was almost like a show. But I absolutely knew that what the drilling community meant to him. It meant everything to him, and to help the next man up, that gave him the greatest joy.
So that leads into my next question. Brock, can you tell me a little bit about some of the advice you might have taken away from Wayne's column over the years?
The big thing with World According to Wayne was, be agile, be smart, ask for help, but diversify, always be thinking. That was the great thing about, I can just remember so many different columns that come across that are either talking about how I just helped this company out or how I asked for help, but he was always thinking of the next what if or how he could beat it. And sometimes that was asking for help, and other times that was just everything he could come up with, and the way he visualized downhole conditions. It's that was what Wayne was to me as an influencer. So Jeremy, you were Wayne's editor for a while. What's your favorite column of his?
So I think my favorite column is probably one that, I had been on the magazine for only about 3 or 4 years. I think it was 2014. He wrote a column talking about a stay he did in the Bakken oil fields, one of many, I'm sure. A lot of longtime readers know that he was a pretty skilled tool fisher, and was, really an A-team guy that people called when they were in tough situations like that. But he wrote an article recounting how him and a junior hand he was staying with poached salmon in a Mr. Coffee in a motel. And I love that story, because to me it is kind of the ingenuity that I see, that I observe in drillers, all kind of wrapped up into one just lovely little episode. And that's one of many stories he had, which he related to in his columns over the years. So, Emily, Wayne was such an outsized figure for us. And it seemed like every trade show I went to, people would ask, is Wayne here? Is Wayne around here somewhere? I'd love to meet him. Or, that Wayne guy, is he really like that? Everyone seemed to think he was some like made up figure. Can you tell us a story or leave us with a story that readers may not already know about your father?
Um, yeah, I'm not quite sure. You may know, but I like the story of the beginning in the oil field, actually. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Don't shoot me down, but my daddy was not born in Texas. Both, you couldn't tell that by his accent or his hat, but both of us were actually born in Adrian, Michigan. 1976 I was, and he'd already been in the water well business. In 1976 I was 6 months old, and him and my mother rolled in to Texas from Michigan with a few canned goods and enough money to pay for one night hotel room. And my dad told my mom, do not come out of this room. And I believe it was with Stewart Oilfield Company that he started with, I think. But he was determined that he was going to make it in the oil field. And he went, he got the job, and Friday came along and he asked for it in advance, and he paid for the other days that he didn't have enough money for. But that just birthed the grit, that just started the uphill climb, I'm gonna make it in this industry, and this is gonna be my life. So I love that story. I love the story of the beginning, because he came with nothing but determination and $20 and his family. And so I love that story.
Go ahead, Brock. I know you want to.
So, Emily, National Driller BMP Media is in Troy, Michigan. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I'm a West Michigan native. Jeremy's from the East Side. Like, the fact that this man's history starts in Michigan, where the magazine that he helped develop, and obviously it didn't start in Michigan, it started in the South, in Florida, but what a crazy circle to realize you were born in Adrian, and
Yeah.
we all hail from the Mitten State. Jeremy and I do.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So, well, we do appreciate, that he made that journey, and that he went on to become, the figure that a lot of my readers looked up to, looked forward to his columns every month. And, like I said, as some people didn't even believe he was real, like he must have been made up. But thanks again to your family for sharing him with our family for so long. We do appreciate it. Well, with that, I do want to thank you again for being on the show, Emily. I do appreciate it, and we'd love to have you. So thanks again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Emily.
Take care. So after that, I want to go a little free range with the topics. I think, leave listeners with something a little bit lighter. So, Brock, I'm curious, you teach and coach a lot of folks coming into the industry. What types of things do newbies find most challenging? And can you give me a couple of examples and some tips for overcoming those challenges?
The most challenging is the unpredictability of the industry. Mm-hmm. So it's, I always say we're going out to discover the unknown. If we're on a service project, or we're on a drilling project, or whatever we're doing, the timeline isn't set in stone. And that's one of those situations where we can't really know how the day's going to turn out, if we're going to be home at 5 o'clock or we're going to be home at 8 o'clock. And for families or newbies that weren't indoctrinated into this,
born to it.
Right. I grew up, that's just how any day or holiday could be affected. But now we have these great professionals coming in that want to be part of it, but you go to work for an 8 to 5 with maybe the exception of working an hour or two over, not 6 hours over or missing something. And so I think that's the hardest adjustment we have in this industry right now.
Just timeline expectations and workload expectations.
Yeah, especially because we don't live to work, right? So it's like we have things we want to do. We have football games we want to go to. It's Thanksgiving and a large agricultural farm of cattle or something. Cattle still need to be milked night of Thanksgiving. You're on that job if the well goes out, regardless if Thanksgiving dinner's there and the Lions are losing.
So surely you hang out, that kind of leads me into the next question. Surely you hang out with some civilians, some non-drillers. When you run into situations like that, like what do people outside the industry misunderstand about drilling?
There's two pieces there. The civilian fun side, they think about, if we drill too deep, we're instantly in oil, or like that this concept that we're going to drill and if there's that's the joke. Did you find oil today? Let's cash out like the Beverly Hillbillies, and it just perks out of the ground. From a professional engineer standpoint, so much of drilling is based on instinct, intuition. I talk about this a lot, right? Fighter pilots or race car drivers, they have to make microsecond decisions that will determine the outcome of the day. Mm-hmm. And drillers have to do the same thing. And pump crews stepping in on all we can see is, the top of the hole, and you have to visualize what's gonna happen next. And so scientists have a hard time wrapping their heads around gut or why we would say that. Or the best example I have was I was on a project in Arizona with the National Guard, and a large drilling company had come in and drilled 1,000-foot dry hole, meaning no water was found. Hydrogeologist was brought in. They did the topographical and said, there's no water at this range. Sure, you guys can do this training mission, but we're going to send all the material back because there's no water. We were 800 feet away from their well. At 575, 600 feet, as we were drilling on air, we started producing water. And so I look at the lieutenant and I was like, where's the casing and screen that we had ordered? And they said, well, we sent it back because we're not making a well today.
We weren't going to screen it, yeah.
And drilling is this disruptive process of temporary, making something stable. So if you don't have the materials there, you have to figure out an alternative to stabilize a hole, especially when it's in Arizona and you don't have high water tables and stuff. So we had to change everything, and we got the materials back and we made a well. And still to this day, that scientist goes, I don't believe how you guys did that. So it was a little bit of gut, a little bit of instinct, and then you followed that instinct into going, hey, there's a water well here. So let's, your turn, Jeremy, let's talk about you. What do people outside your industry misunderstand about journalism?
Business to business journalism, which is what National Driller is, the kind of magazine, the kind of publication it is a little bit different than the kind of newspaper journalism you might see at your local daily or like the New York Times or something like that. But the goal is all the same. We like to tell stories and we like to get it right. So I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Most of us are just good, honest people trying to make a living, and the way we do it is to tell stories. So it's not in our interest to make stuff up. That's not what we're here for. We just like to tell stories, and in order to do that, in order to properly reflect what's going on, we have to get it right. So that's what we do. That's what I aim to do at National Driller here. Every thing we do is recorded so we can, honestly reflect what people tell us. And so what we're bringing you, yes, it's been edited. Yes, it's filtered through what we know, what I know as an editor. But it's not, it's not a nefarious process. It's just bringing you the stories that reflect the industry. So,
What I enjoy is the fact that you help me tell my story. That's the misunderstanding, I think, as we recruit, and I often drag people over to the bar at the NGWA or something and say, here's my buddy, also my editor of National Driller. You should write for him. And everybody gets the deer in the headlights look. I'm not a classically trained writer, and I still make buffoonish things, but you do a great job of making me feel comfortable about turning in my content. And that's the cool thing that I appreciate about you telling the story, is you help me. And I think my favorite quote was when I was bringing Dave Bowers to you, and Dave's like, I can't write for you. And you said, hey, I've been editing Wayne for the last 7 years. I can help you out.
Yeah, well, I leave the drilling to you guys, and you guys can leave the editing to me, and I think that's a fair division of labor there. So I want to talk a little bit about what I call task hacking, because I'm a sucker for this sort of thing. Like, for example, when I'm traveling for business, for my personal business, I have my phone remind me when I leave certain places, so I log my business mileage, because I'm great at forgetting stuff. I'm just excellent at it. So as someone who's out there on the job site, directing drillers, getting drilling done, are there any things like that that you do that help make your professional life easier, Brock?
The first one is FaceTime or Zoom or any of the video conferencing I can do on site, because trying to travel to all the active sites, it's great to be able to go, okay, show me. And the Air Force guys in Africa have done that, or in Nevada, with it being a week of Veterans Day coming up, those guys. So I think from my cell phone standpoint, it's great. All of the technology at my hand, the ways that we can communicate faster. My Apple Watch tells me when it's beyond 90 decibels. That blows my mind that we have safety. We're wearing safety. Like I'm, Jim Kirk, with Star Trek. The big one's GPS. Yeah. The moment we have a failure on, we need to get a part or something, how easy it is. Again, I guess the hacking that I didn't have 15 years ago was, I can now take a picture of the serial number or the barcode, and I can image search it. I won't use one of the company's names. And, it'll come up with, places to go. And that's like where I can pick up a replacement hydraulic pump, because again, the drilling industry is a lot of components brought together from other industries. It's not like I run down to the Jeffco dealership or the Versadrill dealership and go, hey, I need this valve, because it's now Conroe, Texas for Jeffco and Indianapolis, and I'm on the East Coast and the Southeast right now, so I got to figure it out.
Yeah, and you're not necessarily going to be able to go to your local plumbing supplier and get whatever. You need specialized retailers and suppliers for any industry, particularly this one. So
yeah.
So, well, I think those are some good tips, and with that, we'll wrap up today's episode. Drilling Insight videos published to nationaldriller.com, and you can also find an audio-only version there and on Apple Podcasts. So look us up and tap subscribe. Until next time, this is Drilling Insight.